Hello, hello. Hola amigos de País Lobo. Soy Rocío Gambra y les partí saludando en inglés porque esta entrevista va a ser en inglés. Vamos a tener la parte subtitulada también, pero para no hacer esperar a mi amigo Lloyd Lobo, les voy a presentar a él en inglés. So, Lloyd is an entrepreneur, a podcast host, a community builder, experienced the World War as a young refugee in Kuwait, witnessed the strength of community in evacuating the population to safety. As a co-founder of fintech platform Boast.AI, he leveraged the community-led growth model to bootstrap the company to eight-figure revenue and a secure over 1 million in funding, while also co-founding Traction in a community empowering over 1,001 kilo innovators through connection, content, and capital. So welcome, Lloyd. How are you?
Yeah, I am doing well, Rocío, and it's so great to see you after what it is, 20 years?
Well, actually, it's 10 years because I was in the US when you were moving to San Francisco. You passed through my house and I struggled what to give you from eating. I have to say that we met Lloyd 20 years ago. Do you remember? It was a funny story that.
Yeah, I do remember. Why don't you tell your listeners the funny story how we met, and maybe you say it in Spanish so they can follow along.
Yeah, because you know it in English, but maybe we have English listeners too. I will tell you. Lloyd era el pololo de una gran amiga con la cual yo estaba viviendo y ella, bueno, sus papás no lo querían mucho y de eso vamos a hablar un poquito también porque era nuestro prom dance. Entonces lo trajimos escondido desde Canadá y bueno, ahí actué un poquito de violinista, como podríamos decir, pero lo trajimos para acá. So what I tell my friends is that we we brought you from Canada, sneak out with you for the prom dance, and your in-laws by the time didn't know that you were there because they didn't like you that much. And I heard from the rest of your podcast that actually you had to struggle a lot from them. From the one that they are listening to us, I don't see the video. Lloyd come from the Middle East. As I told you, he came from the Kuwait. Were you from India or from Kuwait?
So, Rocío, my parents are from India, and they were working in Kuwait, and the Gulf War had hit. And so, as a child, I was a refugee of the Gulf War, and I experienced the whole Gulf War experience. Now, my last name is Lobo, which goes with the name of your show, which means wolf. And as you know, in India, there were Portuguese
Yes.
settlers in India, much like in Brazil and other places. There were Portuguese, and that Portuguese influence the language and the culture. So there's a small place called Goa in India where the Portuguese were there, and that's how those names proliferated or came out. And so I don't speak any Portuguese or Spanish, but I would love to learn. It's too old to learn, but maybe I will try before we meet in person next time. But yes, so as a child, I experienced the Gulf War as a young refugee. And actually, that was my first experience with community and entrepreneurship. Because if you think about it, I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old. And one morning, my mother wakes me up and she says, the Gulf War is hit and you cannot go to school. My first reaction is like, yes, I don't have to go to school anymore. But when I saw the worry on their faces, I knew that something scary was about to happen. That was a time when there was no cell phones and there was no internet.
Yes.
And when I went down my building with my dad, I saw a number of faces that were concerned and worried. And, you know, in 2023, when any bad news happens, it carries on and carries on and carries on. But back then, there was a lot of worry, but people weren't discussing the bad. They were thinking about how do we solve this problem? And so, you know, the security was gone. The building had no security. The country was taken over by Iraq. And, you know, there was bombings, there was looting. So there was a lot of worry. And what happened was the people immediately started saying, hey, how do we solve this problem? Maybe I will guard the building from 12 to 6. And somebody else says, I will guard the building from 6 to 12. Somebody said, I will organize food. And somebody says, if you have family members displaced, I will give them shelter. And so each building, apartment building, became a sub-community, a small community. And the word of mouth spread from building to building to building to building, and communicated with embassies, who communicated with governments, with the UN. And it became the largest grassroots evacuation movement that took people to safety. And that day I experienced two things. One is the power of community in coming together to change the world. See, in 2023, we belabor a lot on problems, and we are very fixated on technology, right? We see, oh, it's AI, it's AI, it's AI, right? Right now, we're talking a lot about artificial intelligence. But, you know, technology always comes and goes, right? First, it was, before the internet, it was the TV. After the internet came mobile. Then came social, or after the internet came social. Then after social came mobile. And now it is AI. Technology always comes and goes, but the connection between people always remains. And so that was the time I recognized the power of people, right? Technology will come and go. Yesterday's most innovative technology, yesterday's innovation, always becomes a commodity tomorrow. But if you have a community of people, you will not become a commodity. And that's what I saw. And the experience around that is a perfect example is, you know, the bike Harley Davidson. Yes. The Harley Davidson motor company.
Yes, it's known here as well. Yes.
Yeah. And so in 1980s, the Harley Davidson Motor Company almost became bankrupt. Why? Because a lot of innovation was coming from Japan. Japanese electronics manufacturers started building more powerful bikes. And the Harley Davidson leadership, what they said was, we will build a community around our bikes. And the management and the employees, they went out there and they started rider communities, rider clubs, and started bringing two people together around the joy and the fun of riding, the brotherhood of riding bikes. And it was not a marketing strategy. You know, in 2023, we say community is marketing, but it was a company strategy. And employees became riders and riders became employees. And they created the Save Harley Davidson campaign. And over time, they created campaigns to donate to breast cancer and autism and all of these things. And so, like, I remind people that innovation or a good piece of technology comes and goes, but the power of people is what drives it. People build technologies, people build companies, not the other way around. And this book is to remind people that power, which I recognized during the Gulf War, which Harley Davidson recognized in the 80s, which Mr. Beast has leveraged to build a big iconic brand. The other thing I recognize, Rocío, as a Gulf War refugee is entrepreneurship. And I think that is a key thing I wanted to close with here. Entrepreneurship, or the entrepreneurial spirit, is nothing but taking an idea to impact while dealing with risk and uncertainty. So being an entrepreneur doesn't mean making money. It means, how can I take an idea to execution and impact while dealing with extreme uncertainty and risk? And I don't think there's any bigger risk and uncertainty when your life is on the line. So being a part of that, a small part of that, experiencing the Gulf War, I got the love for the spirit of taking ideas to execution while dealing with uncertainty. And I got the love for a community.
Yeah, we haven't said that yet when you talked about it, because the interview comes today and my curiosity arrived when I saw from Facebook, as you have many friends around the world and here, you have friends that you don't get in touch that much. And this time it was because my friend Vivi, she posted the book that you were talking about, that it will come out on September 12th. It's called From Grassroots to Greatness, and is a 13 rules to build iconic brands with community-led growth, and which covers tactical advices from community-led business, both big and small, such as Apple, Harley-Davidson, Nike, CrossFit, HubSpot. So what Lloyd is telling us exactly is what his book is about. And we are gonna discover in this other part of the interview what led you here, because since I saw you before in our grad dance high school, to now, you changed your life. You made a commitment to Vivi that you were going to retire at 40, but nobody believed you that. Did you retire at 40?
I took a break. Retirement is a frame of mind. And the reason why I say that is retirement is the ability to do what you love, right? On your time in your prime. Retirement is the ability to do what you want, where you want, when you want, and with whom you want. So that was the luck that happened at 40. You know, sometimes you say something over and over and over and over and over again for so many years that it just happens. It's called the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And so I think I got lucky. So what happened was, you know, as you said, Vivi's parents never really liked me. Or, you know, they
saw
never.
It.
Yeah. You saw it. So they never really liked me. And she's a very smart kid. Vivi got into medical school in second year of undergraduate in college without entrance exams. So she's very smart. And at the time we were going to get married, the company I was working for shut down. So Lloyd became unemployed. So company shut down. And you know how I was, Rosy. I'm always joking. I'm still that way. That's the only way to stay young and energetic. I bring energy into everything, and people don't take you very seriously when you are over energetic. So that was the situation. I was always joking around, fooling around. I don't have a master's degree. You know, they would say that it would be good to get an MBA, and I never did the MBA. And Vivi is very educated doctor. And so what happened was in 2008, we went to India to get married, and one thing led to the other. Craziness. Obviously, I was out of a job. And the next thing you know, the wedding is not happening. And the wedding was called off. And what was told to my mother is I was not good enough to marry Vivi, that I will not amount to anything, that she has not raised me well.
Wow. Wow, that might have hurt. I have to say, I know your in-laws. They received me at the house for more than 6 months, and they were incredible people too. I saw the kind part of them, and
definitely they're everyone is very kind. You know, I never hold anything against anyone, because if that incident wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I see.
Definitely, you know, there's no bad people in this world. There is shades of gray. Very few people are genuinely mean and bad, but generally people are in between, you know, some shades of gray. People have good days and bad days, and situations lead to certain outcomes. But the reality is, of course, they would be worried for their daughter, right? Like, I mean, yes. Me and Vivi met when we were teenagers. And I think she was like 15, I was 18, or something like that. We were teenagers. And, you know, here I am. It's the global recession in 2008. And I have lost my job, and I don't have a master's degree. And Vivetta is in medical school. And
we have to say that she has two brothers, and the two brothers were also in medical school, one in India and the other one in the US as well. So they work really hard, and their kids, they really have high standards for their kids. So
definitely. Yeah. So one has a PhD in biomedical, and the other is a doctor from India who's now a doctor in the States. So yeah, so they had very high standards of education. And so my mother asked me one question when that wedding called off, and she cried. And, my mother never worked a day in her life. She sacrificed her career to raise me and my sister. And she asked me one question: did I sacrifice my whole career to raise you to hear this, that I didn't raise you well?
wow.
She said, I sacrificed. I could have got a job. Before my mother came to Kuwait, she was teaching in the orphanage in India. And she has a love for helping other people and giving. She's the original community builder in my life. Everything about giving and building community I learned from her. And she said this to me, and she was crying. And she said, did I sacrifice and not work all my life to hear that I didn't raise you right? Did I not raise you right? And those words broke me completely. It broke me so hard that I didn't stop that day. I started running from that day, and running and running and running and running. And I did one business, it failed. Did another business in technology, it failed. So we did an AI project in 2013. Now, today we're talking about chatbot. In 2013, we built a chatbot, but it was too early. It didn't work. 2015, did another company with investors. They had invested $6 million in the company. I was part of the team. And we spent 2 years building it, and all the money sank, lost all the money, didn't work. Then in parallel, we did an events company, and the third business partner, he took all the profits, $250,000, and he ran away. Wow. So we had to sue him, and after paying lawyer fees, he returned $50,000 in installments over 6 months. And wow. So you couldn't catch a break. But going back to 2008, even after that incident, Vivi stuck by me. And when we came back from India to the States, we got married 9 months later. And because she didn't want to plan another wedding, I ended up planning the wedding and giving her the dream wedding. And of course, her parents weren't happy, and everyone wasn't happy that we got married. I wasn't the perfect choice. But that day, I told her that I will retire at 40. And every week from that day, every time there was any difficulty, I would tell her, I will retire at 40. And one business failed, and second one failed, and the events company came and went with the guy ran away with the money. I kid you not, Rocío, in the middle of the pandemic, when everything is shutting down, I started working 3 times as hard. And in the summer, it was 3 months before my 40th birthday. It's July. And I still... So what happened was, during the pandemic in July, everything was very stressful time. You're working twice as hard. You're working twice as much. And even then I told Vivi that I'm going to retire at 40.
Lloyd, I have a question there. What happened with the kids? Because Vivi's a doctor. Probably she was working a lot during COVID. You were working 3 times more than you did before. What did you do with your 2 kids?
Now we have 3. Luckily,
yeah, I know, but the time you had 2, right?
Yeah, luckily. And Vivi is good at managing her time and spending a lot of time with the kids. I was not spending any time with the kids. I was not spending any time with the kids. And when, up until that point, the kids didn't even have any relationship with me.
Wow.
Because that's how busy I was. We had a nanny. We could afford a nanny finally. And, one thing, Rocío, we made a promise that even if you have to sacrifice on vacation, we will spend the money on nanny, even if the money is tight. You know why, Rocío? A lot of couples, they'll take 1-2 week vacation a year, but they will fight every day. Oh, I'm busy. Who manages the kids? Who manages the kids? If you fight every day, no matter how many week vacation you take once a year, you'll end up in a divorce. So you got to figure out if both the husband and wife are busy, put your money, which will make your daily life peaceful, not 1 week vacation, 2 week vacation a year. The compound interest on fighting every day because who's doing the chores, who's looking after the baby is divorce. No matter how many 1 week, 2 week vacation you take. So we optimize for peace every day. And so we spend money on a nanny, even when I was not bringing money home. And Vivi, luckily, is a doctor, so she made some money. And whatever money I made, like extra, was going towards the nanny, right? And that was very good. If we didn't have a nanny, it would be very, very difficult for us. But nonetheless,
I have to stop here because is it really important what we are talking right now? I know that your usually interviews go straight into how you did it and how you make everything go right. But I know Vivi, I know how good she is, and I'm kind of where you are right now because my husband is the one that brings the money, like your mom. But in the time, we also have a nanny that I can take care of the kids when I'm working right now, like I'm doing these interviews that takes time, that it takes money. And how you do that, you become successful, is also part of the community that you are creating in your own family. And how you guys did it, it was kind of a puzzle to me because she's bringing the money. She's doing all the work, taking care of the kids. And in societies like ours, women usually don't have the luxury to do what you did. And she stood up in front of her family to support you. And in our times, and for women, we don't do that usually. So it was important to me, puzzling for me to do this interview with you, how you overcome the guilt that it is that you're not bringing money, you're not spending time with your kids, but you follow that dream that took you where you are right now.
Rocío, I talk to so many entrepreneurs because I have my own podcast and my community.
Yes.
And the one thing common between every entrepreneur that has made it in some way is a burning desire or an anger to prove something wrong, to change something that's bad, to make different what is broken, right? To do the right thing, to create an impact, to change the way people see things, because they're unhappy by the status quo, by what's broken. They're unhappy with humiliation. They have the spite, they have the burning anger to either fix something, to prove the people who put them down wrong, or to drive a change in the world that is broken today. And if you look at the story of Lamborghini, right? Lamborghini was a tractor manufacturer, and I'm not Lamborghini by any means, right? But I'm just saying the only way to fuel yourself is to take that rejection and use it as energy, right? Because you get rejected a lot in life, and there's two kinds of people. One kind of person who gets rejected and beats themselves down. But everything great in life, in business, is on the other side of pain and suffering. Don't let rejection rule you, let it fuel you. So the story of Lamborghini was he was a tractor manufacturer, and he went to tell Ferrari that there is a problem in the Ferrari clutch. And he was a rich tractor manufacturer because he had made well. And he said, if we partner, I can make the clutch for you better, and it'll be a great partnership. And Ferrari insulted him and said, go back to making your tractors, you farmer. And the rest is history, because Lamborghini is one of the most beautiful cars and doesn't have the clutch problem. But what I'm saying is, particularly now for everyone, their parents are paramount, especially in our cultures. Mm-hmm. And when my mom that day, and I needed a jolt, because all my life, Rocío, I was a joking, energetic, fooling around, not serious kind of a person. So I needed that. And I think my teachers in school said the same thing. Your son needs a jolt in his life to change. Otherwise, he's never going to change. And that was the jolt when my mother asked me, did I raise you wrong? Did I sacrifice my job all my life to see this day? And that hit me so hard, right? It was not my personal humiliation, but it was the humiliation for a woman who sacrificed her career to raise me. And I said, I will not stop till I make you proud. And so businesses came and went and failed, but I didn't stop. I could have got a job somewhere stable. And then, I kid you not, during the pandemic, we hosted an event. And our investors who bought the company came at the event. They loved the event. They said, who is hosting this event? I got on the phone with them, and they said, hey, why don't you help me get some companies to invest in? Because you know so many people, you have a big community of entrepreneurs. So I said, I don't have the time to do that and get commission from you, because I'm running my own company. Me and my co-founder, we have a business. And he asked, oh, what is your business? So I explained what our business does, and they loved it. And they said, can we buy 50% of the company? And that is the story. They end up buying 52% of the company. And I kid you not, the process to evaluate the company took 3 months. But the money hit my bank account the week of my 40th birthday. And everyone went crazy. They're like, it's like you get lucky, right? I mean, when you have a great mission and a great purpose, and you don't stop and you keep going, I think luck happens, right? Luck finds you, right?
Yeah, you have a say, right, about luck?
I think luck is, luck is the 10% that tips everything in your favor. Everyone says, I'm self-made. Rocío, if we didn't do that deal during the pandemic, it wouldn't happen today, because you see the markets have crashed. The company's stock market is down. Everything is down. So luck happens, right? And so what is luck? Let's unpack that. Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. If you take risk, sometimes, you'll fail, you'll fail. You get lucky, right? Look at it, like heads or tails. So you keep flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping, and you keep seeing risk and failure and risk and failure. And once you get lucky, and it happens, but what is the key thing there is consistency, is to never stop, is to keep going and going and going. If you stop, you never know what would happen. And the thing is, I didn't have the option to stop. I had come too far. And after that, we sold half the company. We took more than $100 million in capital in the company, between debt and equity. And today I am very proud to say, after me and my business partner left the company, the new CEO who's running the company, he was the CTO of Sage Intacct. Sage Intacct is a company worth $10 billion. $10 billion. So a person from a $10 billion company is running a company that we built. And that is a matter of pride. But Rocío, you know, what happened after that was a very sad state of events.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because you got to the top of the mountain. You got there where you wanted to get. And what happened then? Because you are so fixated in getting to that place that I know something happened when you got there. So tell us.
When I got there, you know, all my life I chased success looking for happiness. And I realized finally that success is nothing but freedom. If you're happy, success finds you. You got to be in a happy state of mind. And so what that means is I kept neglecting the family and neglecting the family and neglecting the family. And Vivi kept saying, if you don't spend time with the family, you know, nobody cares about any amount of money. After that deal happened, and I kept telling her, don't worry, when the deal happens, we'll take everyone to Bora Bora. Right? It's the most beautiful destination. We'll book my parents, my sister, we'll book everyone to Bora Bora. The deal came and went, and we booked everyone to Bora Bora. And, you know, up until that point, Vivi would say, we care about spending time with you with the phone down.
Sure.
Not distracted, you know, you're on your phone all the time, you're working all the time. We care about spending time with you with the phone down. We don't want one vacation a year, right? Like I said, if you spend one vacation a year, it doesn't compensate for the 365 days you don't spend. All right. Or the 50 weeks that you don't spend, the 2-week vacation don't matter. The same thing, like if you don't have a nanny and you fight every day, then the 2-week vacation doesn't matter. So the compound interest of not spending time together is huge. The 1-week, 2-week vacation doesn't matter. So I didn't have a relationship with them. Then the deal happened. I booked everyone to Bora Bora. 2 days before the trip to Bora Bora, I wake up, I cannot breathe. My oxygen levels are down. They take me to the ER, and I have bilateral COVID pneumonia. Both my lungs in the X-ray are white. And now I'm hospitalized. They put me on oxygen, and the situation is very bad. And because it's high COVID time, nobody's allowed to see me. Nobody's allowed to spend time with me. Even Vivi, despite being a doctor at Stanford, and I was in Stanford, they wouldn't allow her to come and see me. And so what happened was they set up a Zoom like this, 24-hour Zoom. And the people who are coming to see me are wearing like space suits, right? Like dressed like spacemen. And I'm like, what is happening? Now your oxygen is down. They're pumping steroids on your body. So you're feeling crazy. And it was very painful. It pained for months, at least for 5-6 months, I was coughing after that. And the pain wouldn't go. It was very painful, the chest and everything. And in that time, whenever the Zoom is on, I can hear people crying in the background. I'm like, oh, my parents, because everyone had come home, my parents, my sister, to stay with us because we were going to fly out of Bora Bora. They had spent, and they were stuck there. And you know, we didn't anticipate the Omicron would happen. We thought like COVID's going to come to an end. Vaccines were going to come about and all of this stuff. And man, as I sat in the hospital, I said, if I die today, my biggest regret would be I didn't spend enough time with the family, with the kids, with none of them. And I was shattered. Right? And I realized that day, you know, the 2 key realizations in my life, both tied to people and community. When I was on the Gulf War, during the Gulf War, and we're going in the refugee bus from Kuwait to Baghdad to Jordan, highway of death, buses are bombed and everything. You don't know if you're going to live or die. And I see around the bus, all the adults are singing, playing the guitar. And, you know, we always say in the West, right, in English, it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Or some people say, It's not about the journey, it's the destination. And I realized as a young kid that it's neither the destination nor the journey. It's the companions that matter the most. Because you could be on a crap journey on the way to hell, but great companions will make it memorable. Or you could be in Paris in a chateau, sipping champagne and eating caviar, but with miserable people, you'll always be miserable. And, you know, another part of my experience was as a child, my mom grew up in the slum of Mumbai. And every time I would go in the summer and spend 3 months during the summer holidays in that slum, very small houses, 10 people staying, no place to sleep. Every 5-6 houses, there is one TV. So you're watching TV together. People are eating together. The roads are broken. So that during the rainy season, the puddles will become like swimming pool and you're swimming in there. But it was the best time for me. It was the best time for me, and I would cry to go home. So that day I realized lesson number 1 in life is it's not the destination or the journey, but the companions that matter the most. Who you surround yourself with can make you feel like a rock star or a peasant. So curate your companions wisely. Your well-being depends on it. And the next big lesson was when I was near death COVID, and I realized it's not the money in your bank, but the people around your tombstone that matter more. What good is any money in the bank if you've not spent it with the people you love? And I promised to Vivi and the kids that I would spend more time with them. But guess what? I came back, you know, old habits die very hard, right? I'm a workaholic. Right. So I came back from the hospital, and next thing you know, I am next thing you know, I am in the middle of craziness. The company now went from, you know, we were doing 10 million in revenue USD, and now we had taken between debt, equity, lots of money, 100+ million, right? And we're hiring so many people. And the company went from 30 to 40 people to over 100 people in a span of 8 months. So imagine hiring 100 people in a span of 8 months, or 90, 100 people in a span of 8 months. Is crazy. All of a sudden, I don't know what I do anymore. I don't know what my job is, because I was running marketing and product management and partnerships. I was the face of the company. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I don't know what I do anymore. It was crazy. All these people, I felt like, you know, I came into chaos. And then August rolls around, and Olivia, she was 7.5 at the time, our first daughter. She comes and says, "Dad, everything you said in the hospital when you came back was a lie. You have become worse." And I knew I became worse. And I said, "I'm really sorry, but what do I do? It's chaos. We've hired so many people. I don't even know what my role is anymore in the company. And, you know, of course, we sold half the company. So there's different partners, and you got to collaborate." And I said, we need to do right by the people who believed in us to join the company. So many people. We need to set the company in the right direction. And she said, "Dad, why don't you go and work for somebody who thinks like that, so I can have my dad back?" And, you know, that's a very profound thing for a 7.5-year-old to say. But obviously I didn't, you know, I felt bad in the moment, but I didn't listen. 2 weeks later, I was at a company offsite in Texas with my business partner, my co-founder. And, you know, phone was down. There's so many missed calls. And I pick up the phone and there's like 20 missed calls. Now it's like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, something late at night. And Vivi's good friend calls me and she's like, "Where the hell are you? You always disappear at this time. You know, your family is more important than business." And I said, "What happened?" So she said, "Vivi has gone into labor to deliver your third child, and there's no sign of you. And it's the same thing like before. Always you're disappearing." So now I have to take the next flight, but the next flight is not until next morning. So I take the first flight in the morning and I head back to San Francisco, and I barely made it to see the birth of my third child, Zain. Mm-hmm. right? And that was, close. It was scary. Then what happened was, I'm a 0 to 1 founder. 0 to 1 meaning I like to take nothing and make it into something. But if something already there, it's not interesting for him anymore. I cannot do process. I'm execution. I move like a pirate, And when the business grows, you become a navy. You go from being a pirate to a navy. We brought in a lot of big company people, and they were like the navy, the right time to take the company to the next step. So
Sure.
I was arguing and not aligned with them. So I went to a board meeting and I told the board now that we have to fire these people because they're not good. And they said, you are crazy. You are under a lot of stress. And why don't you take a 6 months paternity leave, parental leave? When you tell a founder, an entrepreneur, to take a parental leave, when every chance my family needed me, I sacrificed the family for the business, what happens? That day I went home and I hugged Vivi and I cried for 10 minutes, maybe longer. And I said, I'm sorry for every time you needed me, I put the company first. Today, the company doesn't need me, and you're the only person here. And after that incident, I became very depressed. I started drinking. I started smoking heavily. I became crazy. I became insufferable. I started traveling from place to place. Some days I'm calling friends, I'm in Dominican. Some days I'm in Miami. Some days I'm in Dubai. Some days I'm in France. And Vivi is like, okay, you need to grieve because you're focused so much in the business, not in the family. Suddenly it's taken away. Go meet all the people you want to meet. And, drinking, complaining, whining, bitching, moaning. I did that for a long time. And this is how crazy I got. I think I was in Romania for a conference. And after the conference, there was a party for speakers, meaning a retreat. They took us to the mountains somewhere or somewhere in the wilderness, 4 hours from the airport. And at 2 a.m, I'm calling for a taxi and Uber. Nothing is coming. 2 a.m. And the organizers and the speakers are like, why are you calling for a car? Nobody's going to come. This is like 4 hours from the city. You're not going to get anything. After half an hour of calling, finally one Uber accepts, and maybe in another 30, 40 minutes, the Uber comes. When the Uber comes, I said, I just wanted to make sure you're coming here. I book a flight to Costa Rica. I pack my bags and I tell everyone, guys, I am leaving to Costa Rica. I have some friends meeting me there. That's how crazy I became, okay? And I went to Costa Rica. And then when I came back, Vivi saw me and she said, Lloyd, look at you. You become insufferable. You're drinking. You're extremely overweight. If something happens to you, you are not going to get a third chance. You got a second chance after COVID. You will not get a third chance. And you know what will happen? These kids who you always neglected are going to be without a father. So she said, do you want that for you? She's like, you are in a position that not many people are. You can choose not to work. You can live wherever you want. You can do what you want.
You were free.
Yeah. But she said, instead of that, you're crying that you're no longer in the company and this and that. And that day, those words hit me really hard. And when I looked across the room, I had this bike, this Peloton bike, which is, very famous bike in the States, right? It's a community bike. When you just sit on the bike, you see all the riders on the side, you have the instructor. It's a community-led motion, or like a community-driven biking class from your home, virtual community. So there were a lot of clothes on that bike. We had it from 2018, and now this is, I think, 21 or so, something like that, 22, early 22. I remove all the clothes from the bike. I hop on it, and I see an instructor. And that, the best way to build connection with somebody is to bring your vulnerable self, to bring your problems, to say, I am down. and other people open up because then they think they don't have to prove themselves. Usually when we meet an equation, everyone's like, oh, I'm great. And somebody's like, oh, I'm greater and I'm greater. But when somebody says, I am down, then you can level with them. Then you don't have to be great. They're starting here, you're starting here, and you can be true. So she said, I'm feeling really weak because I just came from maternal leave and I can't ride as I was before. And I feel weak. And I could feel really connected. And then she said, self-pity is toxic. You don't need that shit. One crank, one shift, one ride around the block. Say with me, I am, I can. With Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky movie was playing. And I felt I felt so connected to her and the other riders high-fiving that one ride became 2, became 5, became 10, became streaks. And then over time, I started making friends with fit people, and the fit people became my community. The Peloton people became my community. It made with, my friends became like the trainer and people in the gym. And so every morning now I start my day working out. And then we moved to Dubai because, we wanted to explore another place where people live, think about life and work very differently. The Western culture is all about you live to work. Yes. Go to work early, leave late, pick and drop kids, do running around, pay more than 50% of your salary on income tax and then property tax and sales tax, and spend all your week doing chores or going to work early, late. The cities are so expensive that you cannot afford to live where you work. So you have to live really far and drive. So all week is gone running around. You have just enough energy and money left to have one nice dinner on the weekend. And then Sunday, you're preparing for the next week.
Right.
And then you have just enough energy to take a 2-week vacation to go somewhere cheap, maybe Cabo or Hawaii. And you eat the same processed food diet. And then what happens? You retire at 65 and you die at 78. And so you have like 10, 12 years to live. And when those 10, 12 years, you're not functional, right? Because you spend all your time chasing, stressed out, burnt out. At 65, you cannot move and you're retired. And I think what was happening to me even worse was I was surrounded by all very ambitious people. So they would always tell me, when's the next startup? You'll do another thing. You'll do another company. You'll do another company. And so that coupled with everything else, I realized, why do I need to start another company? I talked to a therapist on Vivi's insistence, and I told the therapist, my life feels like a video game. For the last 10 years, I was running to prove my mother-in-law wrong, that I can be better. I can be successful. I don't need to have a master's degree. My mother didn't raise me wrong. And that day came and went. And then all this craziness happened. And now I'm not in my own company. And so I want to prove to the people that I can build another company that's even bigger. And he said to me, 99% of the business, he asked me actually, what percentage of the businesses fail? I said more than 90% because every business I've been before this has failed. And he's like, that journey has been how long? And I said, maybe 15 years. So he's like, you'll work for another 15 years. And by that time, you'll be 58. What will your relationship be with your children? I said, they'll be maybe 18, 20. And will they love you? Will they have a good relationship with you? And if you keep carrying on like this? And I said, probably not, right?
Right.
So he's like, I understand you had to prove your mother-in-law wrong to vanquish what your mother asked you, the question she asked you. But why do you need to prove anyone else anything? He's like, then he asked me, what is your definition of success? And what's really funny is another entrepreneur had asked me to write these questions down, and I had it on a piece of paper somewhere. And I think when you're really young, you write a number down usually, right? This is the number.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally, as we were moving to Dubai, I found a book in which I wrote that number. A lot of times what happens is people are not happy because enough is never enough. You need to know when to say enough. And that doesn't mean it's enough forever, but it means that you can stop and take a break for however long you want to do what's fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to move to Dubai because we were both born in Kuwait. Dubai has a lot of our friends from Kuwait moved to Dubai. Dubai is the perfect mix of Miami and Singapore. It is safe. It is community driven. It is friendly. And Dubai is a city that is designed to give you time in your day. Everything from your chiropractor, from your gasoline comes home. From your groceries to your gas comes home. It's not significantly more expensive. Like if you want to have your gas delivered home and fill in your car, it costs the same like going to the gas station. And the cost of service help is also inexpensive because the service help is coming from regions where there's no jobs. And so everything they make here is savings. There's no tax for them. And so Dubai ends up being a wonderful place that is designed to give you more time in your day. You can get anywhere in 20 minutes. A lot of the places you live in Dubai are walking, meaning you can walk to the shops, to the groceries, so it's not long commutes. And so when I came here, my quality of life improved. And I had a lot of free time, right? And I think, I had decided in that time that, every time in my life, the one thing was very consistent: the love of the community. From the slums in Mumbai to the Gulf War, when I graduated university, I went into sales, and there was a sales community that I learned everything about sales and marketing from. Then when I built the company, we had no money for sales and marketing, and nobody would talk to us when we'd pick up the phone and call. So we started building a community. We started hosting events for entrepreneurs to help them learn how to build a company. So we could learn. And what good is it if you learn and you learn alone? Because we said, we could take advice from people, right? Like this was a time where podcasts weren't very popular. YouTube wasn't popular. LinkedIn wasn't popular for business content. This is 2012. So we said, if we want to learn really tactical advice, not like high level inspirational talks, but tactical. How do I get my first customer? How do I build my company? How do I get my first investor? If you want to learn this, why just call people and ask them, people that we know? We help other people also learn when you invite them to your learning session. So we started hosting these meetups, these learning sessions, so other entrepreneurs could learn as well. And that became my community again. And the first meetup, 10 people came, and 20 and 30, and one day 200 people came. And over time now, that community has 120,000 subscribers, and we've done big conferences for 1,000 plus people, and all the big CEOs have come to the events to teach. So that became my community. And when I left the company, I felt like I lost the community. Like everything was gone. There was no events. I felt lost. I felt like everything is going to be taken away from me. That's why I got depressed. That's why I was going from place to meet friends, because I'm like, I'm going to lose this community. And then what brought me back to sanity was the community as well again. So I said, I have so much free time now. I can sit and do nothing, but I'm not used to doing nothing. So the best thing I can do is educate the world on the power of community. And I said, let me research to see if, like me, if other people have experienced the power of community as well. And what I found was very intriguing, in that thousands and thousands upon successes were built on the power of community, right? And you know what they say in English, there's a quote: your network is your net worth. right? I changed that and said, if you build a community, you won't become a commodity. But really, what is luck? If you keep meeting more and more people, they say you're in the right place at the right time. It's luck. All of that makes sense. But if you never leave your house and meet nobody, you'll never get lucky. Even to buy a lottery, you have to go and meet somebody to buy it, right? Now you can buy it online. And so maybe there's that luck, but that luck is very, very hard. But if you never leave your environment and meet people and meet people and meet people, you'll never grow. The only way to generate luck is to put yourself out there, to network. And so as I look at it, from that meetup we did for 10 people to doing hundreds of meetups and bringing together thousands of people over the years, we kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And that brought us customers, and it brought us partners, and it brought us the people who purchased the business as well, who invested in the company. And so that's why I say luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. And if you keep flipping it, it's risk. And once in a while, you'll get lucky. And so I wanted to pay homage or say thank you. And as a gift to the community, I wanted to write about the power of community, right? From the stories of Harley Davidson that almost went bankrupt and is an iconic brand, is almost like a cult because of the power of people. And Rocío, what I found as I talked to thousands of people over the years is from Christ and Christianity to CrossFit. CrossFit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was popular here as well.
Yeah. So from Christ to CrossFit, there is a 4-step common path, which is powered by community. From Christ to CrossFit, 4-step common path, which is rooted in community. When people listen to you, you have something to say and people listen to you, or they buy your product or service, you have an audience. When you bring that audience together to interact with one another, it becomes a community.
Mm-hmm.
When the community comes together to create impact that's bigger than your profit or your product, a greater impact, a much greater purpose that's beyond your product or profit, it becomes a movement. And when the movement has undying faith in its purpose through sustained rituals, it becomes a cult or a religion. So you think about that, the journey of Christ to CrossFit has gone through audience, community, movement, religion. Without community, you can't become a movement or a cult or a religion for that matter. And so as I started to research these companies and my experiences, I distilled it into 13 rules to build those iconic brands. And how do you go from an audience to community to movement to cult? Now, we didn't build a cult, we didn't build a movement, but we built a community. But I explored so many other communities and cults to come up with the book. And the book you can see here is From Grassroots to Greatness, 13 Rules to Build Iconic Brands with Community-Led Growth. The ebook is for 99 cents on Amazon.com. I wanted to make it accessible to all so everyone can buy it. And on the website, from grassroots to greatness.com, there'll be a bonus section where there's going to be a lot of additional material, videos, and talks for free. I could have made the ebook for more money, but I wanted everyone to have it because there's a lot of talk about AI. 2 years ago, there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin and crypto. And before that, there's a lot of talk about fintech. And before that, there's a lot of talk about social and then mobile and then internet. Technology changes. People don't. People build companies. People build cultures. People build cults, not the other way around, right? And so that's what I wanted to educate the world, that if you want to make quick money, you can make quick money in any ways, right? You can go on OnlyFans or you can sell. There's many ways to make quick money. But if you want to build something that lasts forever and ever and beyond you, it is only possible through the power of people. And so that's what I wanted to write about. And I made it for 99 cents. I could have made it free. The problem is if I make it free, then it will not reach more people because Amazon does not count your review as verified. The more reviews I get on Amazon for the book, the more it spreads. And so I make it 99 cents. The review is verified, and it's great that way.
Yes, and it has become number one on the launchings in books for commerce, e-commerce, and business. So you got what you wanted, you set your mind on it, and now everybody can go and read your 13 rules to build iconic brands with community-led growth. Lloyd, I want to thank you so much for this interview, and everyone that just listening. I will.
You know, Rocío, I wanted to close out with one thing.
Tell me. Yes.
I think this book, I'm still waiting for the bestseller. So it's a top new release, but the book is releasing on September 12th.
Yes.
And my goal is to make it a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And that wow. I will know by end of September, early October. Copy one of the Wall Street Journal bestseller, hard copy, is for my mother. And, I didn't experience a great joy after we sold half the company and became rich. In many ways, I saw that money is only useful if it buys you freedom. And if you have money but no people around you, it doesn't matter. And I was on that deathbed of COVID. This is a bigger win for me, making this book a bestseller and giving the first copy to my mother says that you didn't work for all your life to raise your son, and that was successful.
Well, you have a big goal now, and we will see if you get it. So we will you'll have to tell me later if you were able to do it. Well, I have to leave you guys. Thank you so much, Lloyd, for the interview now, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Take care.